just making this like idea. I don't even know where it's coming from. I'm just really inspired and it's a good thing. So I'm just really nervous about this putter in particular, and the fact that I found that little hairline crack now is making me extra nervous.
In today's video, I'm decorating the last 3 plates of the 12 mystery plate series. Let's see what we are making today. This is plate number 10. That kind of looks a little bit like a crab. Did it crack? Is that the mold? Oh, it's a little handle. It did crack, but I think we could patch it back on. It's so weird because the clay is still so wet. I think it's just because it hasn't been used before. It looks like a little crab dish. I think that's a crab. Like, that looks a bit like a crustacean, right? Or is it just a bow? Maybe it's just a bow. I don't know why, but I'm seeing crab. It actually looks a little bit like the crab dish that I've done in a previous mystery mold, where you guys all said it was good for like clam chowder and stuff. And I feel like this could be so cute on the side as like a little bread and butter to go with your crab dish, whatever you serve in that. And then like this is like, it's like a little mouthy thing.
Got this crab looking body, and I just don't think it will look like a crab if I don't have the legs. So what I've actually decided to do is have this as like a little bread plate or cracker plate. And then each of these, I'm gonna make like a, I'm gonna see if I can make it, but make a little like pinch pot leg, and each one of them can have like a different dip or cheese or I'm just making this like idea. I don't even know where it's coming from. I'm just really inspired and it's a good thing. So I'm gonna make some crab legs to go with this plate. I did an example one and it does actually kind of look like a crab leg, like, how cool is that? I'm obviously going to do like the pincer ones as well, but I've just got to remember to do equal left and equal right because they kind of bow down a little bit, but I think that looks cute and I think I can add detail to kind of like make it come to life.
Okay, so many of you said that you could see a strawberry, and to be honest, I see that too, but once I saw the crab body, I couldn't unsee it, and then the ribbon at the top just looked like the little antennas of a crab, you know? Do crabs have antennas, or am I thinking of prawns? Anyway, I just had to bring my brain into a sculpture because it's so silly of an idea. I just couldn't not do it. For the legs, I'm actually using a different clay body, which is called paper clay. So if you haven't heard of paper clay before, it is made up of a paper pulp and clay. The body is used for repairing cracks and giving clay projects more strength. It is lighter and it dries really nicely. I actually love the texture of it because it's really groggy, like really textured. Grog kind of means like a sandy texture in the clay where it's not super smooth. It meant that it would have a bit of a texture reminiscent of the ocean floor, like, you know, like how crab will scurry on the ocean floor or unsettle all the sand. I just thought it was like a really nice parallel. The bonus of paper clay is that it rarely cracks because the fibers are in the clay. It kind of helps it gently dry and like fuses it together in a way. And you can even make your own paper clay by shredding paper and mixing it with offcuts. Oh my god. That's the first time I'm looking at it from above with you, and I love it. I actually think, I was like, these are going to be too big, but by the time they dry and shrink a little bit, I think they're going to be perfect size. Oh my gosh, it looks like a crab. I'm very proud of this. It's stupid. I love it. Anyway, I just thought the paper clay is looking so good. I really want these legs to be wacky and weird, but still convey that shape of the crab I'm imagining, with each one being deep enough to hold dip, cheese, olives, and the lack for a charcuterie platter. The next step is actually glazing this critter, and I'm doing a technique I've done before, I think in like mold 70 somewhere. I did these tapas plates and I mixed up a watery glaze and then poured the watery glaze into the plate. It made this watercolor marble effect, which is really popular in glazing, but it does give some really cool mesmerizing effects, and you kind of have no control over it, which is really exciting because you're not sure if it's going to work. The thing about this technique is it's often used just on plates or flat things because you can kind of just pour it on the surface and let it dry gently. The thing about when I did the tapas plates is that they actually cracked because I let too much water sit on the surface of the bisque. This time I'm pouring it in a container and then grabbing the pieces out and just like gently pouring glaze all over it. The risk of doing this step is that often these glazes require 3 coats to get the real pigment of it showing up on the piece post firing. Because it's already watered down and you're pouring it all over the place, it's really hard to know whether you're going to get that pigment that it shows on the actual bottle of the glaze surprise or whether it's going to be totally unexpected. And I really want to forward that because of the results, and you'll see at the end why. But I went in with these sort of like grey blue colors, and I wanted some pops of pink and purple to kind of show through, so that it was like kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, like sort of like a very natural looking crab with that grey tone, the grey blue tone, like it's under the water, but having this sort of pearlescent with flecks of color shining through. I probably should have picked different colors for this, because I probably should have thought about the fact that the blue was going to not be blue and be more of a grey because there's not lots of coats on it. Nonetheless, we soldiered on with this idea, and I'm just hoping that it turns out the best at this point in time. The other thing was I made too many glazes up, which meant there was so much left over. So I actually got my student assistants to pour a mug up each, one with all the colors solid and then one with the mix of color, to see what would happen. Really predicting that this is not going to look good, but on the one Mon did, you can see all the pink flecks everywhere. So I think that pink's going to be really vibrant, and I'm a bit sad because I wish mine looked a bit more like this. I wish I put a bit more of the pink on it, but it was too late because I'd already kind of done the technique. I then wanted to make sure that the legs were definitely covered and the plate was definitely covered in glaze, so I dipped them into the clear glaze as well, just to make sure that they were fully covered, and then popped it in the kiln.
That kind of turned out okay. This did not turn out okay. And then some of these actually look like little rock pools, which was what I was going for. I'm not vibing the grey. I think the grey just, yes, probably looks really accurate to a crab, but I'm thinking I'm gonna reglaze it. I think I'm gonna grab the glazes out and just paint some glaze on them. I think it's definitely so close, and like I've done that technique before, but just not with those colors and not with something that's like really sculptural. So that's where I think it went wrong with these pieces, is because they're so sculptural, not just a flat dish where you just sort of pour it on. Because I was cross breeding the glazes, because I had to like mix the glazes so much to get all the sides covered. I think that that's where it's kind of gone wrong in the coloring. And like I knew that this was going to be a wild bag experiment, like it was going to be a mixed bag, to know how that turned out. And to be honest, I'm not mad. I am just so glad I finally tried that on a more like sculptural piece. But I definitely think I want to reglaze it, just because it's just dull, and I just don't think it's reading as crab. It's too realistic looking, and I kind of need to like fake it a little bit to make it look, it's like the weird thing about making stuff out of clay, is that you've got to kind of like make it look unrealistic to make it look more realistic, and that iconography, you kind of connect it better. But yeah, I think it looks pretty cool on there. It just needed a bit more color, and it's just way too much of the blue gray. Yeah, this mug that Mon poured did pretty cool. That's because there was like a lot of pink. That was the pink that I was hoping would come out on the crab, but with like a mix of the blues and make it a bit pearly. And then the last mug was all the leftover glaze. It's just grey. It's just grey, which is like, yeah, we thought that was going to happen. So this is plate 11. Okay, so it's a saucer. I've never really seen a saucer where it's that wide and that deep. That is really, really deep. What would you put in that? There's a base here, but it must go with something, but a teacup would just be swallowed by this. So I'm wondering whether it's for like a type of like water jug. I might even look up the mold number and see if there's another part that goes with this, because it might go together and it will make sense. Not a fan of this, but it's because I just don't know what it's meant to be for. A bit stuck on it. It's a bit different.
Now, I was picking my brain on what I was going to do with this saucer for a while. I could have done my usual pastel flowery style, but I just felt it was going to look incomplete if I didn't at least add something to the saucer, so it would be a set like a teacup or a jug on top. And for that matter, a lot of you guys didn't really have many suggestions for it, except for finding a matching piece to go with it. Still wanting to bring this piece to life, I thought it was a great surface to experiment with the technique, one that I have done a few times in my career and in my videos, but not one I have done a really good example of. And to be honest, this one still isn't the best example, because I think the reason why I haven't done many pieces like this is because I don't have the gorgeous sharp tools that get crispy clean lines. I'm actually planning planning on getting a set of them from Diamond Core Ceramics when I'm at the NCECA conference in Salt Lake City in late March this year. Alas, I continued with my cheeky universal dotting tool that has been so overused the ball on the end has come off. Today I'm doing Sgraffito. Sgraffito is a technique whereby you scratch and carve at the ceramics to reveal a contrasting color underneath. The word Sgraffito is actually an Italian word that translates into to scratch. Sgraffito is actually an incredible surface decoration technique that can be used very uniquely and adds contrast, texture and details to pieces you're creating. Often it is actually done by adding layers of color on ceramics with either engobes, underglaze or colored slips. I've used a custom mix underglaze because I want this sort of like navy blue color. When the pottery is leather hard, you then scratch and carve away at the surface to reveal a contrast of color underneath. On my plate, I've actually left the center piece plain because you'll see why later in this video, because I wanted to do a particular design for it. I was umming and ahhing about whether to carve into it and then inlay the carvings blue so that there was a contrast, but then yeah, I came up with a much better idea. You can also add different layers of color or just do one. The more layers you add, the more depth and detail you can add, but I find the most impactful to designs for me aesthetically, I think the one color on top, so like that two-way color contrast, and usually I like a darker color contrasting with a white. This technique also reminds me a lot of lino printing or lino cut work. Stenciling and stamping is a good sort of transfer into other crafts. I mean, they're not the same, but they've got kind of similar principles as it's all about building contrast in the negatives. On my plate, I am actually carving a little bit too soon at the start. The thing is, it's summer here and it's been really hot, so I've been gauging the right time for the carving process. It's been quite difficult because things are drying so quickly. I decided to start carving sooner rather than later just because I want to put so much detail on this. I didn't want it to dry out before I filled all the detail in the plate. You'll notice as I progress with the design, the clay is kind of sticky and lumpy and gradually gets more dry and comes away more satisfyingly like it should. To complete this plate, I needed to fill in the center of it, which brings in a new mold that I've never poured before.
Okie dokie, my little artichokes. I have poured this vase up. This is one that one of my studio assistants picked out because she thought it was a good shape for the pottage, and I haven't actually revealed this one yet, so I thought I'd do like an unveiling. But with the plate that I'm working on, this one is the perfect size to sit in the dish, and I think it'll look really pretty. She picked this out for the pottage and also painted it to test it, and it turned out really cute. So what I'm going to do is open this one up, show you the piece, and then I'm going to let it dry out a little bit today and come back to it and carve out of it a design, which I'm then going to blue inlay it. So I've done the saucer with the blue, carved it out, and it's white, and then this one's going to be white and then carving in and it's going to be blue, so it's kind of like opposites in a way. That's it there. Look at that. Isn't that just a gorgeous shape? It is so perfect. The way it curves up, it's got a nice open hole for the vase for the flowers to go inside. It's also heavy enough that it won't topple over. I think it's just a really nice, simple, basic, but beautiful vase. I think also, just on that note, I could do a vase mini series of going through vases and what they could be used for and all their different designs. So let's let it dry a little bit and we'll carve into it.
Isn't this the most satisfying vase shape? I am absolutely obsessed with this vase. Like, I've been thinking about it, dreaming about it, wanting to make more of them. So for this design, I've actually picked out my favorite flower from the design I did on the plate. I really loved my little cone flower design and I wanted to do a vase that was sort of being swallowed by them. I began carving them a lot larger so that when I add my inlay of color, it is a lot more bolder because there's so much white space. I just needed the print to be a lot larger than what I've done on the plate. For the vase, I'm actually doing the opposite of what I did on the plate. Instead of adding the color first, I'm actually carving and then I'm going to inlay color into the pot. I actually timed the vase a lot better in terms of carving time because it was the perfect leather hard consistency. The only issue with all the burring is to do with my tool. It's just not sharp. It's missing that sharp edge to keep it nice and clean. I tidied it all up with a brush and then going back into the lines post doing the initial carve. Because the detail of the flowers is quite bold and open, I decided to add a few little details into it to add a bit more texture onto the vase. I think that this worked really well. I also added some sort of like dots, sort of squiggles, so that it had a bit of motion, like pollen flying through the air around the little flowers. To be honest, Sgraffito is actually one of my favorite techniques to do. I don't know why I don't do it more. I think maybe it's got to do with that you have to time it so perfectly with the drying times, and often with the amount of work I'm making for both my paint your own pottery studio and the work I make for my shop, it's just a lot to time because it's not my usual method or technique of decorating. So often we'll pour a lot of things and then we'll open them and then I'll plan out what I'm painting, and by that stage they're all really dry or they've been through the bisque kiln already. So I think that has a lot to do with why I don't do it more. But after doing this and seeing the finished results, it just makes me want to obsess over Sgraffito, for like make it my new personality trait. And all my studio staff were just like, oh my gosh, you should do this more. Like, this is so pretty. Like, one of my studio assistants, Mon, she's just been like, do not sell this piece. This is so gorgeous. You cannot sell this. You cannot get rid of this. This is a perfect piece. So that was really confidence building, and maybe I should do it more. It does feel really authentic and true to how I feel, and I do feel really proud when I make these pieces. Sometimes with my painted works, I'm more trialing and testing things to see if they work, see if I like colors, see if I like certain styles, but with Sgraffito, I'm always happy. Like, I'm always just so proud of it and always love how the results turn out. It always feels really satisfying. It feels vintage and raw, and like I'm honoring potters centuries before me that have used this technique to convey their artistry. So I just feel like I'm connecting to potters that have been before me, which is kind of a bit like, I don't know, it just feels really special. I think I should do it more. I think I'm convincing myself to do it more. It's now time to dip them into the glaze and pop them into the kiln.
Oh, get out. That is gorgeous. I can't wait to see that when it's got the vase on it as well. Because I haven't been able to fire that yet because I haven't had the space in the kiln. But I'm so excited. Lucky last, we have mold number 12 and I saved the biggest one. It's so heavy. Oh, it's perfect. I love it. This platter is scallop shaped, so it looks like a giant flower. I love it so much. It is so beautiful. I can imagine it in some really beautiful colors, and I'm wondering, like, it could be cool to kind of like have like the stripes running down from each scallop. This one makes me really happy, and I'm so glad that for such a big mold that it is a gorgeous plate, because it would have been a shame if the biggest one was the least favorite one, I guess. Imagine just like a gorgeous cake. I almost need to collaborate with a cake maker and get them to design the cake to suit the plate.
Out of all the platters, this shape and design is the one I'm most excited for, but also the one I'm most nervous for. The shape of this platter is gorgeous in size. It is perfect, and I've never actually fired anything that is this round and large, so I'm hoping that the kiln positioning, it will be fine. It definitely does fit on the shelf, and it does allow for stilts around it. I think it will fit perfectly. So for this platter, it is so vast, and I think it would be a total crime if I didn't lean into the scallop edge and incorporate it into the design itself. I decided to actually do two designs. The first is this lion, the second is in a little while, with the finale surprise at the end with someone you all said I should collaborate with as a nice little celebration to end the video. I wanted the design of these plates to be impactful and bold, and I could have gone absolutely wild decorating these with all kinds of patterns, but I just really wanted it to look like a funky character. I couldn't get over the edge kind of looking like a shape, and for me, I was looking at it thinking it looked like a lion's mane. So that's what we're doing. We're painting a lion head, and it's going to be a cute little cartoon lion. When I say lion, what is the first character you think of? Depending on what you expose yourself to and experiences you have changes what you associate with a lion, and I just think it's a very good example of how we all have different perspectives in life. Is it the Lion King, Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe, Wizard of Oz, Madagascar, something else? I always think of Aslan. As a kid, I grew up reading the Chronicles of Narnia, and I don't know what happened, but I never actually finished the series. It's actually so sad. I think maybe I just fell out of love with reading, and I really don't know why I never finished it. I think I had one book to go to. I think I need to pick the book back up and finish off the series. To be honest, on that note, I also get really sad when movies are made on books or series and they do so well at creating the first one, even the second one, and then they don't complete the series. I feel like that should be some kind of rule that if you sign up for doing a whole series of books. You have to finish it. Like Divergent being cancelled before the last and final installment was such a shame. Is there something that you watched along and have been so disappointed that they didn't end up finishing the story in movie format? Like, I know everyone argues that the books are better, but sometimes it is nice seeing the books come to life in a movie series. Let me know in the comments what series wasn't finished that you're so disappointed by. I must admit that I do love that they finished The Hunger Games, and I love that series. To finish off the underglaze of this plate, I'm actually using some underglaze chalks. I've never used them before, but I thought I would carve a little bit of the powder off and make some sort of like chalky looking cheeks. I thought by adding a solid colored cheek, it would kind of take away from the beautiful mane and the boldness of the details on the face. And I've also got all these little speckles all over the face from painting it. It's caused from little flicks of paint as I've been like putting the paint onto each color of the mane, and I just really don't want to take away from those little like kind of like happy accidents. I really want to have a play with this chalk a bit more, where it's actually more of a feature of the design and playing with the texture. But yeah, that'll just have to be for another project.
Okay, I think it's done. I actually popped the whiskers next to the nose because it is a 2D shape. Usually they're like kind of that mouth cheeky bit, but I feel like because it's flat, they look better next to the nose. Yeah, maybe I can put that in the voiceover. I am just waiting for that nose to dry, and then I'm going to outline that too, because I think it will look weird that it's not outlined when everything else is outlined. I was actually going to add yellow into these little like mane details, but I've decided that I think I like it plain without the texture. I think it's really cute. And then the other thing is I've left this completely blank. Yeah, I don't want to continue that pattern on the bottom because you're not going to see it. Like when it's on the table, you're not going to see it. So what I'm going to do is pick out a colored glaze and just pop one coat of like a yellow or a brown or something like that on the bottom to then just complement the top, just so it doesn't look unfinished with like nothing on the base. Nothing on the base. But yeah, for the most part, this one is done. I'm now going to work on this one. I'm not sure colours. I think I'm just going to do like pinks and purples because I don't think I've got too many pinks and purples in this series, even though they're my favourite colours. So let's start this one.
I actually think that this plate would make a really cool cake stand. A lot of you actually suggested that in the comments, is that adding this as the base and then putting some kind of stem through it and having another layer. I just think it would be so pretty and so gorgeous. And imagine a little high tea setting on this piece. Absolutely phenomenal. It would be so cool. But because I don't know if this plate is going to work, and I just have so many reservations about this, I just feel in my heart that it's going to crack because of all the crevices. I just want to test the plate as is without adding any extra stress points and worry concern. Also, how satisfying was that yellow blob of clay going onto the center of the plate? Like, I did it and I didn't even realize how satisfying it was at the time, and then I watched back the footage and I was like, oh, that just scratched my brain in a really nice way.
So I've just found a tiny little hairline crack in one of the petals on this plate. So instead of painting the petals pink and purple, I decided to just leave them without glaze and use the brown to differentiate the petals so it looks like a big white daisy instead. I'm just really nervous about this platter in particular, and the fact that I found that little hairline crack now is making me extra nervous. So I didn't want to spend extra time on it and use my resources if it's just going to crack, because the fact that I'm firing it as well, I probably shouldn't be, but I'm going to because it's part of the experiment, and I still really want to see what this looks like and see if this brown is enough of like a contrast to make the petals stand out. I think it will be. I didn't do black outlines on this one because I thought against the white and the yellow it would be too harsh, and I kind of want it to feel really 70s and fun. The next thing is a face. I really want to put a face on it, but at the same time I kind of love that it's just this big daisy and I could add texture to the center. I think I'm going to do a face. I think I will do a face because then it can kind of be a little bit matching to the lion plate as well. But as for the face, I'm not sure what expression it's going to do. Maybe it'll be the same. I don't know. It would be cute if it was the same, and then the difference of each plate. It could be a set where each like rim is a little bit different, but then the face in the center is the same. I don't know. I'm going to have a play. Alright, I've just done some sketching and I think I want to go ahead with this kind of like 1950s Felix the Cat cartoon face. Not necessarily feel it's a cap, but just for your reference, with the black eyes and the sort of smiles that were around in that era of cartoon and comic books. Because I just think it's a little bit different, and I've been really vibing with that style at the moment. So I'm gonna lay this on and see what it looks like.
As I mentioned, keeping this plate super simple, which is a bit of a shame because I feel like I could have done so much with this. In particular, I was thinking about layering the colors and doing some kind of gradient work and then adding some texture, but the hairline crack, it's so annoying because hairline cracks can be so minor, like we might not even see it, or it could just open up to a world of worries in the kiln firing. So I decided that I'm actually going to paint this one just with our nice yellow center. We've got the lines differentiating the petals, and then I'm going to do a 1920s comic book inspired face similar to the Cuphead series, just to bring it to life. Keep it real simple so that we won't be super disappointed if it cracks.
So these ones just came out of the kiln and they're looking pretty good. The only thing is they are too wide to dip in the glaze bucket, so I'm going to have to pour the glaze on instead of dipping. And yeah, you just got to go for it and hope that you've applied enough.
For glazing this one, I'm just pouring it all on and risking it for the biscuit. It was very nerve-wracking because I had to make sure that I poured just the right amount of glaze on and I didn't let the glaze sit on the areas too much, and then I had to make sure I covered every area. It was a little bit stressful. I look totally calm here, which is so surprising because I was really stressed. After I did the top, I also added a glaze on the back, and that was just to finish it off because it just felt a little bit unfinished and untidy, so I just added this sort of like oatmeal looking glaze on the bottom to make it, yeah, feel a bit more finished, and then I popped it in the kiln. Okay, so I said I was going to reglaze this crab platter dish, but it was sitting on my bench for ages, and my studio sisters came in and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool, this is so pretty, look at the way the glazes are interacting with one another, and they kind of made me fall in love with it a little bit. I still kind of want to reglaze it, like parts of it I wish just popped a little bit more, but there's so much charm within the little rock pools that I feel like I can't take away from it now. I've just gotten a little bit attached. I also decided to do up a little charcuterie board and show off it in action. So this is what I was thinking. Look how cute it looks. I mean, the crab legs don't actually realistically fit too much, and like you have to have tiny little things in the tiny little legs. Like I've got little wasabi peas and sultanas in the tiny little legs, but otherwise I think it's so cute. It's got like it just looks so funky and Mediterranean, which I'm loving. Yeah, it's just the glaze. I'm still kind of on the fence, but everyone's making me say that it like looks cool, and I think it's just because it's so out of my usual style that I'm just not used to it. But let me know what you think. Should I reglaze it? Should I leave it? What's your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. But that's our little crab. Can you see my vision now? Can you see it? I am really in love with this matching set. I just don't think it could have turned out better. I just really love that I decided to contrast the Sgraffito patterning with the saucer and the vase. The colouring is so gorgeous. I wanted to use that Delft blue inspired colour just because it is so impactful against the white. It feels folky, it feels classic, it feels timeless. I'm just absolutely obsessed. I also think the choice of doing a much bolder design on the bigger vase in complement with the plate with more details was such a smart choice. I just think that they work so well together. I really want to explore this idea more and even playing with some different contrasting colors. What other colors do you think this technique would work well with? All in all, I really love this matching set.
Okay, it is time to open up to our bigger platter. It's time to open up to our 12th and final platter of this series. This one is the big scalloped edge platter. The thing about the scallop edge is I'm worried that all the little indents of the scallop have cracked. It's quite a big shape, so let's see what we've got inside, I guess. Oh my gosh, I'm so relieved. I love that. It's striking. I love it. I think it'll be so cute with a cake on it. All right, let's get this other one out. No cracks again. Oh, great. No disastrous cracks anyway. Let's get it out and have a look. Oh, I love the daisy. Looks like we're good.
Oh, that's so sweet and striking again. I love it so, so much. Here they are, my gorgeous scallop platters. Now, I was really struggling to get these on frame because I was actually on crutches in these shots, so it was a real struggle, but I actually sent the daisy one off to a cake creator that you all suggested I should collaborate with, and I thought it would be a lovely way to send off this series. So I sent the gorgeous daisy platter off to Tigga Mac in Melbourne, where they both created this gorgeous little daisy cake to go with the platter. I think it is so cute and the perfect way to celebrate the end of this series. I also kind of love that the little lines of the daisy almost create little cutting marks for cutting a cake. That was an unintentional part of the design. Before I left for America, I sent this off to Tigga and they were so fast to get this footage back to me, but I also asked them if they wanted to share a few words and that they wanted to say that they wanted to make a cake that matched the whimsical vibe of my work. They love getting inspiration from different places and they can't say they ever used a plate before because they've never had a plate as cute as this. They especially loved that when the cake was sliced up, it revealed the daisy face underneath, and cake boards are usually really boring, so it was really fun to have this play of a decorative plate as part of the whole look of the cake decoration as well. But that is a wrap for this mini series of 12 mystery plates. Here's a look back at all the designs that were created in this mini series. Gosh, it was so much fun. I'm going to be individually posting some of these plates as their own little videos, so just ignore that if you've already seen them, but I just wanted to give them another time in the limelight. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching this mini series. I've got some more planned for this year and I can't wait to show you what I've made. I'll see you then. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more.